when I say closer, what do you think? Do you think I'm convincing somebody that they have to go out here and they have to go with me? And I'm just forcing them and I'm closing the gap and that's what I'm doing? Because that is not what closing is. What closing is making sure you get a property under contract. It's not a forced sale. It's not Wolf of Wall Street style. So what I'm going to do is give you 5 steps today of how anyone, even getting started in this business, can go out here and start making money by closing sellers, and really my ultimate closers formula. So we are here on our weekly Discord call, and I'm super excited, jacked up like usual, to go out here and just teach you how to wholesale real estate absolutely for free. So let me just let everybody in the Discord chat know that we are live before I start dropping stuff. And let's get it going. So just tell everyone. Let's see, we are live in the closing. All right. I rallied the troops. So now we're back. All right. Now we're all set. So perfect. All right. Now, who here is completely confident they can close sellers? Now, who here is not confident to talk to sellers? Who here is not confident that they can go out here and close a deal? Now, if you're in here and you're confident you've closed sellers, maybe this isn't perfect, the only thing for you, but most likely you're slightly nervous if you're a beginner closing a seller. And it'd be nice if you had kind of like a little mini checklist of what you should do starting out in this business, and really 5 steps anyone can just use to start closing sellers and start closing deals. And I hate the word closer, but that's the one people like saying, so I will say it. But closing is never convincing somebody to go with you. Closing is just getting a seller to agree to write a contract with you. Now, there is some salesmanship involved in this. There is some convincing, if you will, of why you should go with us versus other wholesalers. That's a close, right? Convincing me to go out here and not use a realtor is not closing, right? And I think the best example I can tell you is it's like getting engaged, right? And this one guy was telling me he was convincing somebody to go with me, the wholesaler, him, versus with a realtor for a better price. And I'm like, he had a picture of his wife or something. I saw it and I'm like, you married? He said, yeah. I said, when you asked your fiance or your girlfriend to marry you, did you have to convince her to go with you? Like, will you marry me? But let me give you 5 reasons why you should marry, and then you get a whole presentation why, and you sound desperate. No, that sounds stupid. Okay, that's not how you got what the kids called Riz, right? That's not how you get it, right? What you got to do is just pop the question. If they say yes, it's a yes. If they say no, bye-bye, right? There's no high stakes sales when you propose to someone, right? It's not a high stakes venture. It's a yes, and if they're not all in, why are we trying to convince them? And a lot of you guys treat wholesaling the opposite, right? You try to convince them and tell them you sound crazy and desperate. The point of closing and the point of having sellers right now, be able to agree with you and go with you for a deal is all about being able to say the right things and just being in the right situation. So let's talk about the 5 things. Okay, so write this down. 5 steps. Step number 1 to close more deals is to talk to less sellers. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. What I'm more specifically saying here is if you're going out here and wholesaling and you're just giving offers to any Joe Schmo, you're doing it wrong. And so step 1 of my ultimate closing guide, the 5-step process to closing more deals, is qualifying. And more specifically, making sure you're only giving offers to people that actually want what you have. And I know it's a crazy concept and a crazy thing to say, but if you're giving offers to people that are not qualified, first of all, they say no more. You feel more upset. You don't get what you actually want. And your morale goes down and you're just ultimately wasting time. You only should give offers to sellers that are qualified, sellers that actually want to talk to you, sellers that actually want a cash offer from you. And this is a simple qualification process, right? And so What I like to do is when I talk to a seller, I just go through my 4 things. MCTP. That is by far the greatest slogan I think me and Rick have developed for wholesaling. And I don't think we founded it right. It's been in books since the 70s. But when you talk to a seller that is looking to sell their property, just ask them 4 basic questions. MCTP. All right, this is motivation, condition, time frame, and price. That is it. And so when you talk to a seller, ask them why they're looking to sell the property. Hey, I'm looking to sell the house because I want the most for it. Probably not a good fit. Not going to lie. Condition. Can you tell me a little bit more about the property? Time frame, when you're looking to sell the property, and price, how much you're looking to sell the house for. Now, even for any beginners out here that are super nervous to talk to a seller, you can at least get by asking those questions because those aren't hard questions to say. And a lot of people are nervous because they're worried about the future. If you ask those questions, they're not going to say anything crazy, right? They're not going to say anything out of pocket. They're going to say pretty normal stuff. Nothing out of the ordinary. But it's important to ask these questions because you'll get a feel with the seller. You'll be able to build rapport without actually having to do any work, which is really nice, honestly. And you'll end up doing very well with this. And so qualification is really important. Don't talk to a seller that's not a wholesaling deal. And if the seller wants to sell for a stupid price, they don't really have a good reason why they're looking to sell their house. It's probably not the best opportunity for you. So you want to deal with someone that actually has a real motivation, like a real reason why they want to get rid of their property, a condition of the house that like isn't perfect, and you just want to make sure that the property wants to be sold for cash. You want to make sure that the price is decent. You can always negotiate from there. But just a simple qualification. Hey, I don't know if I should sell my house or not. Hey, then you got no motivation. There's no deal here, right? Step 2, which is what I call conditioning sellers. Now, this is a must, not a maybe, not a I hope, not a hopefully one day. This is a must. Now, let me repeat myself. If you skip step 2, you are not going to close deals. If you skip this rule because you don't feel like doing it, you ain't going to make money. Okay, are we clear? Are we crystal clear, capiche on this? Good, all right? When you talk to a motivated seller, you have to make sure that they are ready to give you a yes or no decision when you give the offer. I don't care if it's virtual. I don't care if it's in person. I don't care if it's your grandma, your aunt, because I could care less. But you just have to make sure they are ready to make a yes or no decision. The worst possible scenario when you are negotiating with a seller is if they say the M word. What's the M word? Maybe. All right, so there's only 3 ways a negotiation could go in wholesaling. Yes, no, or maybe. Okay? Let me repeat myself one more time. What are the 3 scenarios that a seller can give to you in an offer? Yes, no, and maybe. That is it. And you got to know that if a seller says yes to your offer, woo, that's great, right? That's what we want. But if a seller says no, a lot of people look at that as a bad thing. And, you got to know when to just walk away. Like a nice game of poker. If you got a bad card on the hand, it's better to fold than to go all in and try to bluff, right? You're going to double down. There's just too much risk. You don't want to go all in on a bad hand. Same thing in wholesaling. You got to know when just to walk away from the deal, because sometimes when you walk away from the deal, they'll come back to you in a week, a month, heck, 2 or 3 months on a follow-up, and then you get the great deal. But when you say yes to a bad offer, you cannot go back and follow up. Now, there is a risk saying no, going back, they go with another wholesaler. But overall, you're not really going to have too much strife over saying no on a bad deal. But there's an option to get the deal back on a no. When you get a maybe, it's done, okay? They're optioning you off. They're going to use that contract you send over to them because you didn't condition them to other wholesalers, and you're never going to call back. It is a story as earliest time for wholesaling in this industry, right? You do not want to get a maybe. Maybes are really, really, really bad. And what you need to do is just make sure the seller can agree to a yes or no decision. I had another person last week, right? They're like, oh, I tried to get the deal, but they had to wait for their husband to come by, or they had to wait for their wife. And I'm like, dude, what do you do condition? And like, what's that? It is shocking, okay, how many people that follow me. First of all, that number is insane, the amount of people that follow me. So thank you for all the support and love. Appreciate you guys forever, right? But what is more shocking than the amount of people that follow me is the amount of people that follow me that don't know I have a free wholesaling course called freewholesaling.com. Let me repeat myself again. Freewholesaling.com. How many more times do I have to say the word freewholesaling.com for you to actually get it? Freewholesaling.com. Okay, maybe you guys know it. You just don't. It drives me crazy. I don't know why. But I have a free course called freewholesaling.com. It's a lot of hours of content, but it is a curated course on how to wholesale real estate. And it's shocking how many people don't go through that course, make offers, and then they fail, and they wonder why not, because you didn't go through the whole entire course. When you go through the whole entire course, I tell you in the acquisition section, it is a must. It's a non-negotiable, all right? You have to make sure the seller is able to make a yes or no decision before you meet at the house. Because if they have to wait on their wife, they'd say, oh, I can't make a decision because I'm waiting on my wife. So rule number 2, when you are looking to close a deal, you have to ask the seller before you meet them at the property or before you give them an offer, are you ready to make a yes or no decision before I go out and meet you at the house? I don't want to waste your time or my time. It's a respectful one-on-one upfront agreement, in my opinion. If you don't do that, you're done. You're cooked. Number 3, step 3, you must low ball. Oh, wait. I thought I'm looking to close deals. If I lowball, I'm going to close worse. No. Lowball, you must lowball your sellers ... the right way. Guys, you don't know how much the seller will take for the property. Not truthfully when you get into the negotiations. You never are really 100% going to know. And the only way you can know for 100% fact that you squeeze the most out of that deal. Because some of the biggest issues, some of my biggest fears is I get a deal locked up for 20, but I really could have made 30. I could have made 40. I could have made 50, right? And so many of you guys get so greedy when you lock up a deal, selling it to a buyer, that you'll bid it up like crazy. But when you don't even care about lowballing a seller. You're more scared of the seller than you are the buyer. I'm the opposite. I'm more scared of a buyer getting a bad deal for me than a seller locking it up for way too low and being mad. Because I can always deal with a buyer, right, making more money on the deal. That's fine. It hurts me when a seller can get a better deal. And so one thing you need to do, make this a must, is lowball the seller the right way. Now, my favorite way, the way I'm probably going to teach you to do, is what we call the good cop, bad cop approach, where you give a lowball offer, but you blame it on the partner, right? So it's something like, hey, Mr. Seller, I was talking to my partner, Rick, and he told me he was looking to buy the house for around $132,000. Shut up. See what they have to say. One thing I will tell you, all right, is when you do that, they might be mad. They might blow up on you. But overall, we're going to be both mad at the same person. I know, Rick, he's crazy. He always wants to buy you for so low. Oh, I hate that. But that's what Rick said, not me. And the reason is this good cop, bad cop approach have been used by police officers and law enforcement for hundreds and hundreds of years. And they still use it. You know why cops still use it? Because it still works. And they have a lot more high tense negotiations than me. Okay. And a lot of you guys listen to these books called like Never Split the Difference and stuff. And I think Never Split the Difference is a stupid book. And because when you look at Chris Voss, when he's negotiating with terrorists that are looking to chop a mother of three's head off, right? There's really not much negotiation you can do with this, right? There's not much wiggle room just chop off a finger, right? No, right? So he can't really split the difference. Oh, can you just cut a couple legs off? Like, crazy, right? Like, you can't do that. But in business, you can, obviously. And I want you guys to really change your mind on the way you look at lowballing. I think guys really look at lowballing the wrong way. I look at lowballing like a toddler lowballs. And if you ever have any toddlers, you'll know what I'm talking about. I don't have any toddlers, but I know from being a toddler, I have experience. I have A1 experience at this. For example, if you ever hear a toddler and they negotiate, they're so funny, but they're like, moms are like, I can give you 2 cookies for dinner tonight. And toddlers say, well, I want 500 cookies. Well, why don't we just meet in the middle and you give me 200 cookies for dinner? If you split the difference with the toddler with his insane demands, he gets a huge win out of the situation. And this is why splitting the difference when you have such a ridiculous lowball, even though you're splitting the difference, the lowball is so ridiculous that even splitting the difference makes sense. Think about you're like negotiating for an NBA team. I want $100 million salary. Well, we can give you $20,000. Well, let's meet in the middle at $50 million then. Deal. That would be insane. But you guys like to go out here and say, I don't ever split the difference. Ridiculous, guys. So the rule that I've always had success is go out here and lowball so insultingly low, blame it on your partner, and then meet in the middle. Heck, I had that challenge I did where I had that one guy, I just did a crazy lowball offer and he wanted to split the difference. Crazy, right? And you saw it literally live on Tuesday. It's so funny, but the stuff I talk about always works. And I've been doing it for years and years and years and years. And I just keep doing it because it gets success. This is what it is. Step 4. Have you ever heard the term ABL? ABL stands for always be leaving. And this is just knowing when to just walk out of a deal. And I always say this, and I kind of already said this today, but like I've had situations where the deal just wasn't good and I walked away. And the seller comes back. They come back that day, or they come back literally while I'm walking in the car and say, I'll take it. You got to know when to walk away. Sometimes the seller comes back a week or 2 later. Sometimes the seller never comes back at all. But it is better to do that than to accept bad offers or bad deals. Now, sometimes I am in the play when you're brand new, you have nothing going on, and maybe you just lock up the deal and try to do a price negotiation after you can't find a buyer. Sometimes we have deals where I have no idea how much the property's worth, but I say, you know what? Why don't we try to lock it up and see? I'm talking about a deal that you know is not going to work. You got to know when to walk away. And more specifically, even when you're first talking to the seller, always be leaving. Always be like, hey, you know what? You should just go with a realtor. They'll probably pay you more. Why don't you just go with a realtor? And it's always funny, but like a lot of people are so fearful of that. It's not fearful. Just ask them. And it'll tell you exactly why they're not going with the realtor and how you can help them out. Right? It's so funny. But if you do that, you'll actually close more sellers. It's a shocking statement. And you got to buy these $9,000 closing programs, which I think $9,000 to learn how to close. Lord, there's so many videos of people closing. It's ridiculous, but whatever. Step 5, and probably one I think a lot of people don't really have this urgency of, but sign now and sign quick. And what I mean by this is you need to sign your deals. Like you need to make sure the contract is signed quickly, and more specifically, as soon as possible. There should be no time between you waiting on a deal. And so if you're in person, you bring the contract. I tell everyone, if you are doing in-person appointments, you need to make it a rule, okay? You need to make it a rule that you have a contract ready to go in the car. Heck, on top of this too, when you're closing, you want to make sure when you go meet the seller, the contract's already filled out. Everything's filled out except for the price and the signature. That's it. Everything is typed out and so I just type it out, print it. You can print it out and then sign all the details you want. But make sure there is no time in between the seller saying yes to you, they're looking to sell, and writing the contract. Any time in between that is going to just your chance of getting the deal locked up just keeps going like this every minute. It's crazy. And so this brings me one of my biggest pet peeves in virtual wholesaling, but it drives me crazy. It's when people send contracts for DocuSign and they don't go, they just send it and there's hope they sign it. You need to stay on the phone with the seller when you're virtually wholesaling until they sign it. Hey, let me walk through the details of the agreement with you. Tell me when you got the agreement over email. You stay on the phone. You do not get off that phone until they sign the contract. You do not leave an appointment unless they sign a contract. Sign now and sign quick. And if you use all these strategies together, you'll be a really good closer. So remember, step 1, qualify the seller. Make sure you're talking to the right people. Step 2, condition them. Make sure they're ready for a yes or no decision. Step 3, lowball like crazy, ... the right way. Step 4, ABL, always be leaving. And step 5, sign now and sign quick. This is how you close sellers. I promise you, I can get really anyone to 80% of my skill set closing sellers. Not because I'm the greatest closer of all time, but because it's not that hard to get you that level. For me to get you 80% of my income level, that's a lot harder to do. 80% of the amount of deals I have, that's a marketing thing, right? But when I talk about 80% of my skill set on closing sellers, any Joe Schmo out here can do it.